Hello and welcome to my latest career video. Now, this career video features a fighter called Jimmy Barry, the Tiger bantamweight from the turn of the last century. Jimmy Barry is a strange one for me because while he was a great fighter in his time, while he has an incredible record, to me he doesn't have by far anywhere near the greatest bantamweight resume of all time. He did have an unbeaten title run, he did fight a number of good fighters, but to me his resume has always been lacking big names. When you go 20 years from now, 15 years from now to Kid Williams and Kid Herman and Joe Lynch and fighters like that, who have incredibly tough resumes, incredibly deep, diverse resumes. This is why I've always kind of had problems rating Jimmy Barry, because unlike other people, I don't just rate him on 3 or 4 little points like title record and beat and, the usual stuff. But anyway, let's go through his career. So Jimmy Barry, I'm not saying he wasn't a great fighter. He was a very good fighter in his time. Obviously better than the competition he fought. By far, in most cases, he was an aggressive fighter, a good puncher. I just don't think, just the resume question for me, matching him to the bantamweights makes it hard. If you match a Jimmy Barry as a bantamweight resume to fighters I've mentioned, plus other fighters like Manuel Ortiz and Panama Al Brown, Charles Wood Taylor, it becomes hard. But anyway, this magnificent little fighter, let us look at his main opponents. He fought Hadi Harris, fighting to a draw. He fought Casper Leon, what was he called? The Sicilian Swordfish. Was it Casper Leon? Fantastic nickname. 5 times, scoring 1 win with 4 draws. He also fought and defeated Jimmy Gorman. And he also fought Steve Flanagan, contender, 2 times, scoring 1 win with no loss and 1 draw. He also fought to a draw with Billy Rochford and a draw to Frank Bartley. So there's 11 fights there. There wasn't much point going much deeper because he doesn't have a deep resume. From those 11 fights, Jimmy Barry scored 3 wins with no losses and 8 draws. So on to his stats. Jimmy Barry scored a total of 40 knockouts in his career, 26 of them in 3 rounds or less, and Barry also scored 9 first round wins. Now he scored 0 KOs against champions, 0 against Hall of Famers, and also 0 KOs against pound-for-pounders. And being a solid pre-rating era fighter, he scored no KOs over rated opponents. Big shout out to Antonio Mosley in chat. Good to see you, Antonio, as always. Now, rounds box for Jimmy Barry. Jimmy Barry fought not many rounds, even for the era, coming in with 425. Yes, a lot of rounds compared to fighters like Corbett and Jeffries, but generally as a rule, many fighters in his era fought well over 1,000 rounds, some over 2,000 rounds. So not really a lot of career rounds, 425. He fought 126 title fight rounds, and he fought 6 rounds against champions and 6 rounds against Hall of Famers. He fought no rounds against pound fighters, and like with the KOs over rated fighters, being a pre-rating era fighter, he fought no rounds against top 10, top 3 and ring champions. I still can't get over when we get to him and we revisit him, Maxi Rosenblum's incredible numbers in that regard. Crazy numbers. So anyway, on to our next slide, the champions. Now Jimmy Barry had a record of no win, no loss, 1 draw against champions. Thus, he defeated no individual world champions and also scored no knockouts over champions. And when we look at the Hall of Fame category, exactly the same story. 1 fight, which was a draw. So Jimmy Barry defeated no Hall of Famers and also scored knockouts over 0 Hall of Famers. This ain't going to be a long video because there's not as much information to convey. So Jimmy Barry, on the pound-for-pounders, he fought no fights against pound-for-pounders, which is shocking in his era even. Turn at last century when, even fighters like Kid McPartland and Tim Callahan and all these other, even contenders, not even considered great fighters at the time, fought so many fights against pound-for-pounders, Hall of Famers, champions. But anyway, he had no fights against pound-for-pounders, therefore defeated no pound-for-pounders and scored knockouts over no pound-for-pound rated fighters. And for Jimmy Barry, rated opponents, obviously pre-rating era, so he has no fights against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions. He also defeated no rated fighters individually, nor scored any knockouts over individual rated fighters. And when we go on to the title fight record, this is something Jimmy Barry did well in, having 7 title fights, going fully unbeaten with no draws. So Jimmy Barry's title fight record is 7 wins, no loss, no draw. He did make 6 title defences, and he scored 3 title fight KOs. Now obviously pre-rating era fighter, so he has no wins against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions, and he also has no wins against champions, Hall of Famers and pound for pounders in title fights. He didn't have any in his career, so he certainly doesn't in his title fights. Now he did beat some fighters who held like mimic titles of varying degrees, but not the official world titles. So there is his title fight record slide. Jimmy Barry captured the world bantamweight title. He was also, he's also now enshrined, as former lineal bantamweight champion of the world and an undisputed bantamweight champion of the world. So Jimmy Barry was a great bantamweight fighter in his time. The problem was, you've got other fighters there like Harry Harris. You've got all these very good fighters down there at bantamweight. And one of the problems, like I said about Jimmy Barry, is he was a great fighter. Had there been a lot of better opponents around that he fought, he would have done very well. He would have scored lots of good wins. It's one of those tales, I think, that is a bit tragic, because while he was an outstanding fighter, he was an aggressive puncher. He was a fearsome little fighter. No doubts he could have beaten many of the great bantamweights who followed him, or shared fight series with them. He was on that level, but sadly didn't get the resume to prove it. Jimmy Barry is one of those fighters who was great in his time, but would he have been great across all eras? We just don't know, because unlike a Joe Lynch, who has the fight series with Pete Kidderman, another, to me, top 10 bantamweight of all time. You look at Panama Al Brown and all these great bantamweights, Charles Bud Taylor, fought Canzoneri and everyone else. They mixed it in much tougher company, so we have a better gauge of how good they were. So it is sad. He was a terrific little fighter, feared in his time around his weight, but sadly didn't build that resume that would have, to me, left him in higher standing than where he is. So anyway, there's the bantamweight division kicked off. Okay, over the coming week and a half or so, I will also launch Jimmy Wild. Okay, so the original 8 divisions are ongoing, and then I will just add any fighters as I go forward. But I wanted to get bantamweight up. There's only one division now. I opened featherweight playlist yesterday with Abertel. Now I've opened bantamweight, so there's just flyweight to open. I'm not doing flyweight tomorrow, but I will do flyweight over next week and a half. So the original 8 divisions are then launched, and I can start filling them up, adding fighters in across the different divisions. So big shout out to Antonio Mosley in the chat. Always a pleasure, Antonio, to have true boxing fans. And one thing I always said on my old channel, with yourself and Scrapbook and Random and Martin Dunstan, Nick Harmer, all those are the great people who used to follow me other channel. I had one of the best groups of boxing fans, Haplo, Rascalot 222. And my live chats were always live chats where I always got a great bunch of guys in there, and I'm always very appreciative of that, to have a bunch of real boxing fans who follow my channel. Because someone once came to me, I called this guy out who said Usyk was the GOAT. I called him out for the debate, and he said, my Boxing Librarian channel just had over 2,500 subscribers, and he had like 20,000, and he said, oh, you're too small for me, so I left in his comments, I said, yeah, I may be smaller than you, but on that debate I will bury you 10 feet under, and you won't have a chance, because I'm going to hit you with everything about everything that you don't know, and I'll embarrass you. But he wouldn't debate me, but I always remember when I was reading through his comment section, he didn't seem to have the dedicated boxing fans who used to follow my old channel, and some of whom, like Antonio and Scrapbook and Random and others, Martin Dunstan, who are following this channel and more. So I've always been very appreciative of that. I always remember that old proverb, it's better to have 5 lions than 500 sheep. And I always think it's better if you've got a smaller, more niche channel to have a dedicated set of subscribers who are knowledgeable themselves, like Antonio and others, rather than just blind followers who will believe everything I say. Often Antonio will come out in You know, he'll come out with comments where he's been researching something, or he's been checking something out. You know, on some of those other channels, more media hype channels, you really don't get that. You don't get the kind of people there who will research, who will listen to me on a video and think, oh, I better check into that actually, you know, or something like that. Or maybe they've checked into something, then hear me mention something on a video, you know. And what I found when I checked through that guy's comment sections, I was sat one day just scrolling through different videos' comments. Didn't seem to have those dedicated boxing fans there. So it was a shame that debate didn't happen. I would have crushed him completely. You know, because he said that Usyk's done something no fighter's ever done, being a 3-time undisputed champion. I'm like, wow, you're really on cloud cuckoo. But anyway, there's Jimmy Barry. Yes, big shout out to everyone. I hope everyone is well. Look after yourselves. I will be back tomorrow with another video. But like I say, I may actually get Jimmy Wild video ready just so I can get it up tomorrow. You know, so all my original 8 divisions are open. Then add more in while I get more of my top 1,000 videos ready. I'll see. I'll probably do that. Actually get Jimmy Wild done tomorrow maybe. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm out for now. Everyone take care.